Okay.
I mean, we live now.
We live. All right.
Yeah.
Man. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Elliott McCants sitting again for Sister Audrey Muhammad. We thank you all for being here, and thank you to my big brother, Mr. Jordan, who's taken some time out of his day to come and join us and engage with us in this topic. Well, we've done some things on education, we've done some things on propaganda, we've done a few things on even psychology, and hopefully, I've given you all some tips about how we can make our students better for this upcoming school year. And I hope you all take advantage and do those tips because it's going to make them better and more disciplined in their educational process. It's going to make you better, interactive, and they'll appreciate you. They may act like they don't, but they really do. All right. So today, for my sister, we're going to talk about resistance of the prisoners of war. You know, some people call them slaves. Some people call them enslaved Africans. But we're going to talk about resistance. So let's get some things really clear first and foremost. The people that were enslaved, no matter what group they were, right? So you had indentured servants, which mostly came from Europe, and they had to pay a fine or work their fines off depending upon what they were. And that's what indentured servitude is called. They will work their fines off and, they would be brought over to the colonies, work their fines off. And then when they worked their fines and their time off, they were considered to be free. So some part of even their resistance was they were able to be intelligent enough to find out where other small towns were along the colony borders, right along the East Coast. And they would sometimes just escape and go to another town. And because they were all European, they would blend in. Native Americans, well, the colonists, as they started to grow and understand the bounty that was over here and what they called the Americas, the colonists then tried to, I don't want to say embrace, but to use the native populations that were here for that same purpose because they figured out that the indentured servitude thing wasn't going to work because white folks couldn't work that hard or they were able to move to another city or another village or another little town and escape. The Native American populations, even though they should have fought back when their things first started, and they had opportunities to really fight back, starting with the Wampanoag along the East Coast in the 1500s. They too were able to escape because, of course, they knew the lay of the land better than most other people. So some would get captured, and they would, of course, be forced into slavery. And then when the opportunities came, because they had lay of the land and knew how to get around, they of course would escape and go back to where their lands were. Warn people and then of course prepare for war, which unfortunately over years of many different ways they lost. And then finally, the last group of people that were used as prisoners of war were African people that came from off the coast of Africa. Now, let me say this real quick. You had two types of slave trade, right? First one was Islamic slave trade that takes place over in Saudi Arabia, in that area, in North Africa. And then you have, of course, had the transatlantic slave trade, which we're much more familiar with, that they also call it a triangular slave trade or the triangular trade that went from off the coast of Africa to the Caribbean and then off the eastern seaboard of the United States in a little triangular like shape. Those people, excuse me for saying that, those people, those people were not all this what the propaganda of things would have us believe and say. They were not just, oh, we're just glad to be here. There was always resistance.
Mm.
There was always fighting, even if there were the type of fighting that if you start to learn and read about that period of horrors that took place in the history of the human annals. People fought all the time. They fought being captured by their own people. They fought being captured by the Dutch, the French, the Portuguese, and any other group, the English, and any other group that came over there. They fought against it the whole time. Okay. Most European groups have been at war with African people since minimally, oh, well, let's go back. We can go to the Moors in Spain. When the Moors, the Black Moors helped build the civilization of Spain as we now know it. So, because, and this is by my scholar teachers, because people were clear, European people were clear that they did not start civilization. Civilization did not start with Greece, it did not start with Rome. So do not believe that. Go do your research. One book, George G. M. James, and yes, you all will get a book list. Stolen Legacy. Okay, talks very clearly about how the Greek and the Roman civilization were able to come into ancient Africa, we call Egypt, and learn so they could go back and rebuild civilization. People have heard of Aesop's fables. Aesop was an Ethiopian from Ethiopia who came and helped teach the Greeks their philosophies and ideas for living.
Mm.
So it wasn't just, the animal stories. The animal stories had an idea behind them, right? So there was this fighting and this resistance that was going on all the time. But propaganda, going back to what we first started talking about, talks about, well, how they were happy, because you got to give this false sense of comfort to people, knowing good and well that that wasn't the truth. Okay. So there were many different ways and all of the time that this period of horrible human treatment took place, that there was fighting. So, or even on the slave ship, some people threw themselves overboard and were willing to face drowning and the fate of sharks that followed behind the ships than to go to a life that would be horrible for them. And we don't know the numbers of people. It is probably the close estimation by Dr. DeGray says that, according to her research, there were 9 million people that were brought to this part of the Americas to in a new life. And there are probably many, many more than that, because we definitely know that if you brought over 90 million people died in the process of bringing over 9. And those are supposed to be documented cases. I've heard anywhere from 10 million to over 100 million people in the triangular slave trade being taken to bring over that few number of people here. But there was always resistance. Always, always, always. That's the reason why the codes for enforcement, trying to enforce the docility to make sure that African people here didn't fight or didn't resist or didn't kill, became more and more and more and more severe. There were many ways that people fought. Sometimes people would do these, we're on a plantation and we're just going to work slow. That's a form of resistance. It's a defiance. And you can sometimes see this as a school teacher. I see this with our kids. If they don't want to do something, they'll take a long time to do it. Same thing, same idea. Sometimes people would grind glass up and put it in the food that they were serving the people that supposedly ran the household. That, of course, would cause internal bleeding, and the person would eventually bleed out because they had no clue where the blood was coming from.
Mm.
So another way was to build a fire, to actually set stuff on fire, what they call now arson. You set a shed on fire. You set the where the pigs are on fire. You set over where the barn, where the horses and the cows were. Set it on fire, and oh, there was some glass over there in the grass, and it caught on fire, and that way they got a break. They got a bit of a break. Recall reading in a book called Bullwhip Days, where there's a woman who would always stick her hand in a beehive and get stung, so she didn't have to work. There was the breaking of the tools, so that the tools had to be repurchased, and that would give them a break as well.
Wow.
Or sometimes people would just run away. So we give credit to Harriet Tubman, but there were millions of people that ran away without a guide. And we do give credit to her and those other people that helped her. And those other people that helped people that were enslaved. But sometimes people just would run away. You have a very heavy population in Nova Scotia, Ontario, which is north of here, of African people that ran away and ran north to Canada. They say that that's the place, one of the places where African people in Canada started hockey. Don't know much about the origins of it, but I've heard it.
No, I get it that people was running, but I look what she said. If some knew they was free,
Yeah,
and that's what's sad to me is like you still got them in
yeah. We still in
2024.
2024. We still have the same time, same slave-like mentality.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because we can go to their store, we can maybe maybe 20 of us can move in their neighborhoods.
And I believe truly that one of the reasons why we still have that is because we were allowed to integrate in it. But they knew what they were doing when they allowed that to happen. Yeah. We're allowed to integrate into their communities, and then we lost our community. And then we wonder the reason why you can't say nothing to nobody, kid, or the reason why people, are so isolated is because, I don't know you no more. I don't trust you.
Yeah.
So we lost that trust and love for each other.
We despise each other, but go deal with them, and they can't stand it. I see it. I see it so much, and it's crazy. To me, it's just crazy. You see some of the stuff. You see how people are just like, because I made it.
Mm-hmm.
They go with that. I made it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Pull up by the bootstraps. Yeah, okay, but if you made it, that don't mean your whole race made it.
That I've had that discussion with a few people, and a historian that I hold very dearly. He lives in Detroit, and he's an excellent writer. But I said the same thing. It's only one person, and I guess that's supposed to be inspirational. That's fine, right. But John Deere owns a lawnmower that a black man invented, and he's making billions of dollars with it, with that same idea. But tell somebody that you look at what you've done, but no, it's only you that have done that, right? So that one person in that person's family, maybe, perhaps, may have something from his invention, but that doesn't move. I don't get no money for pushing my lawnmower.
Nah.
I'm glad, I'm thankful that the man did it, but every time I start my lawnmower up, I get paid.
Right.
His family should be getting paid.
Yeah, it should have been generational wealth for
them.
But
that's not how the system operates.
Right. And that's the thing. We got to keep saying it's the system. And I don't know what people don't realize how this system is made up.
But we have a part to play in it as well.
Oh, big part.
We have a part to play in the fact that, going back to what we talked about education, making sure, right? I don't need you to be defiant of me. I need you to be defiant of other things. Focus on these other things so we can get you more, put more in your head, then you want to be resistant to what I need from you, because the level of hatred that you have for yourself that's inborn in you, that you're just going to be defiant of somebody who's trying to give you something. But yet somebody else, you love them.
Love them to death.
Love them. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's really, really nuts. So they consider the other stuff kind of like I broke the two passive resistance. We getting ready to step it up a little bit.
Oh, let's step it up.
The real active resistance, right? There are over, and I have a document at home that's 1,100 pages, and I got to find it, that talks about the number of rebellions that took place from the period of enslavement from 1536, which is the Spanish, all the way to 1863, 1865. Then I have another document, it's almost 2,000 pages. It talks about things like Red Summer that happened in New York, where groups of white mobs decided they was going to slaughter people. 2,000 pages. Right. So that we're going to bring that in at another time.
Yes, sir.
But there were major rebellions and uprisings all of the time. Okay. If you don't know, everybody should know about Nat Turner.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Virginia, 1831. Prophet Nat, because he was a minister, was out in the woods, had a revelation about what he should do. Put together a plan, got some people around different plantations, said, we're going to do this, we got to get our freedom, because God showed me that we need to be free. Killed like 61 people in Virginia area. They finally got him, hung him. He does a whole story called, the book's called Confessions of Nat Turner. It was written in 1833, 34, right around the time David Walker appears, right? David Walker, we showed David Walker's appeal. He shows up around 1831. David Walker mysteriously dies in 1834. He's a free black man, but he wrote David Walker's appeal. And yes, you all will have your book list, but you better show me that you buying them. You got them on your shelf too. So the next time we together, I want y'all to be able to show me pictures of your bookshelf that you got these books on there, or I'm gonna stop giving jewels away until you show me something. So in his confessions, Prophet Nat talks about this revelation, and he talks very clearly. And people want to say he was crazy. He was not crazy. They want to say it because you got to paint him as evil because he killed white people. But you've been killing black folks. You've been killing Native Americans. How is it that you get a pass? You get a pass, but they don't.
Right.
Because he was fighting for something that you fought for in 1776. Right. We're fighting for our freedom from the underneath the crown of the English in Britain. But yet this other group of people, they can't be free.
Right.
So real quick, a few months back on July 5th, 6th, I might pull it up and do it again if it's okay with you.
No problem.
Frederick Douglass does a speech to Congress, 1852, July 5th, talking about what is your freedom to me when my brothers and sisters are in bondage, right? So, but we're going to go back and revisit that. So they tried to say the Prophet Nat was crazy because he wanted to be free and he killed all these people. This is, of course, before they killed him.
Right.
Anyway. So the man's name is William something. It escapes me right now, but I got the book. He gives an interview with Prophet Nat about why you did this. And Prophet Nat says it's because God told me to. He told me the revelation and he said we should be free. So we did what we could to be free. We tried to talk to you. We tried to negotiate with you, and you didn't want to negotiate. So we did this. Yeah, but why you kill women and children? Because they'll grow up to enslave us. That really was his position, his point. And he tried to claim he was crazy. So this man helps him stay alive for a few more weeks or months and doing this interview. When you get the book and read it, he's very lucid, very clear about what he was doing and why he was doing it. So Prophet Nat scared him. So now they got to tighten up the laws where you got to be walking around here with papers and all this other stuff. And, then some people didn't get papers. And if you got caught, they send you back down south to another plantation and, force you back into a worse servitude than you might have been in. Or if you were free black and you didn't have your papers, that's what happened to Solomon Northrop. If you read why it's 12 years a slave, right? They'd send you back. But see, they tricked him, according to the story. They tricked him into getting them drunk and then took him down there. The slave catchers did. They said that they knew him. But anyway, a whole nother story. And I'll give my take on that movie because I didn't like it. Anyway, so Prophet Nat was like, if you don't understand one way, then we have to do it another way. And then so shortly after that, they executed him. It's called The Confessions of Nat Turner. Excellent book, because they were trying to say that he was crazy. And why would you run away? Why would you think it's to enslave another man?
But see, that was the mind state of them. I even remember when it was one of the generals. I forgot what general of the United States, when he was trying to justify slavery. Like,
right.
Well, that's how it was back then. To treat some people inhuman. And this is what gets me when I be seeing people like it was all right. But it's all right when it was happening to us.
Right.
And if you look, really, their biggest fear is if we're gonna do to them what they did to us. Don't judge us by your cardinal mind on what y'all did.
But we've never, when the opportunities presented themselves for us to do it, we didn't do it.
But that's the excuse. The whole thing is, if we just being honest with it, we were never meant to come here to be somebody.
Of course not.
We would, if you go look, we was 3/5 of a human being. This is how we was treated. So how can we expect, because these are their great grandkids now, and we expecting them to do right? When you would think that the sins of the father wouldn't carry on to the sons and daughters.
Right.
But it is because this present generation could have done right.
But there's no money in doing right. There's no righteousness in doing right. It's not keeping a status quo when you do it right, if you're doing it right. You're going to say that two people are going to be equally qualified. That's the reason why they get rid of affirmative action.
Right.
Right. So you didn't do well in school. I did, even though I had way more advantages than you did because of whatever reason I had these extra advantages. And we're not even going to level the playing field so you can have an equal opportunity. But it's never going to be equal opportunity.
Right.
So then even when we were allowed to move into other neighborhoods, that was done by design as well.
Yeah, and you look how you got treated when you did move.
You move into the neighborhood, and then we put burn a cross and all of these other things that we do because we don't want you here.
Right.
But then when we had the opportunity to leave, we listened to somebody say, stay here because you built the country. We were forced to. We didn't do this willingly.
Right.
Nobody said we did this willingly. People were forced to do this.
Right.
So I think that people gonna have your opinions, but you go talk to your great grandmama, ask her when she was out there picking cotton and didn't get 200 pounds of cotton and had her hands all cut up and bloody and all this other stuff, and then she got beat for not having to wait. Did she enjoy that? Because people kill me with not wanting to read the narratives. There's a book called Bullwhip Days. Get it. Put it in your library. These are their words about how they felt about what this was. And none of them talk about I was a joyous, happy, go lucky. I had a good life. None of that. And even if you read $40 Million Slaves by William Roden and the horse race, when they talk about the persons that won the first 13 Kentucky Derbies, and they were black jockeys before they got whiteballed by other jockeys that were white. They would go back to the plantation because that's what they knew. Because they didn't know nothing about, that's all they did. I raced horses. I don't know nothing about building a building or whatever. So all I was trained to do was race horses. So what do? I go back where I'm comfortable at.
Right. But you don't know nothing. But
That's because once again, if we go back, and I know we got to, I want to move on too. I don't want to stay. Yeah. But at what point does white America take the responsibility for creating what they done? You did that.
Right.
You did that. 1804, Haitian Revolution. Mm-hmm. So now word gets out that we can beat these people. So now you stop the slave trade in 1808 and you don't bring no more African people in. But what do? You take the ones that you make and you turn them into what you want to, a social experiment. We talked about that before.
Right. And then say, look what we have, the animals.
Yeah.
You created this.
You created that.
You created it. Now you can't, now it's unacceptable. You created what you have.
Yeah.
You see to this day.
Yeah.
This was y'all experimentation from.
That's it.
Brought us over here.
That's it. Because now you don't want to deal with the fact that the population is growing and you got to control it. Mm-hmm. If you do slave laws and black codes and everything else that they use. But now I can turn it into what I want to. You did that on purpose.
Right.
Right. The issue that they didn't think would happen was there would still be the spirit of African people that say we're going to fight. Because we've been fighting.
Right.
We've been fighting for 4,000 or 5,000 years. Different groups of people.
So why you think they be trying, especially here, the thought leaders that we have from us?
You got to get rid of them because
Malcolm X to a Huey Newton to the Black Panther.
You got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them.
Because
J. Edgar Hoover and out of the Warren Commission said we will never allow a black messiah to come out of the black community because they were afraid of that. So you do.
And where did they say the Messiah was coming from again?
Out of the black community.
Okay.
The African and American community. Okay.
Yes,
so,
sir.
But the thing is the only thing anybody ever wanted was to have our own space, to be left alone and let us tend to our space. When we had our cities, it's like we talked about, what'd you say, 600 cities?
I think it was 60. I might have put too
much
on it. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. But those 60 or 600 cities that we had, leave us alone. We didn't need you.
We flourished.
And we flourished. But what did you do? Blatantly burn them down. Even out of the number of lynchings that took place, most of those persons that got caught and lynched were business owners and people going to school.
They didn't understand that who they was taking out.
They didn't know. They clearly understood.
I'm saying,
that.
But our people did.
No,
didn't understand what they
because
was
we don't want to read about it because we get emotional.
Yeah.
We might get angry.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You need to.
Yeah.
Then do something about it and do something with it.
Yeah. It should have never been. We should have been having more Black Wall Streets, more Rosewood pop up. That's how you stop them. If you think you're gonna destroy, do you see how they do their stuff? They build it back up.
Look, Booker T. Washington said, "Cast down your buckets where you are."
Yeah.
You say nothing about casting your buckets down somewhere else.
Yeah.
No. One of my other teachers, Dr. John Henry Clark, and I love him dearly, has a critique about it. But you don't have Harlem without Booker T. Washington.
Right.
You don't have Tuskegee Normal Institute without Booker T. Washington.
Right.
You don't have Bethune-Cookman. You don't have a lot of that were controlled by Black people.
Right.
Not controlled by somebody else, because most of the other ones were controlled by other people, were built by other people for their children that they had with a woman that wasn't their wife, but it was their property.
How rough is that?
So
and I can ship this kid away.
I can ship this kid away without him being out in the fields, but your mama's still gonna be there and your brother's still gonna be there, whoever else.
Yeah, and people are looking at. They had these slaves when they was doing the breeding that they did. They was breeding like a factory. They was pushing out their workers.
Yep.
What ain't nobody looking at.
So you can grow the population how you want to.
Yeah. They needed people to work in their fields of that plantation.
Yep.
And ain't nobody like they understanding that. It's like, don't get me wrong, I see it, but it's like, when do we wake up and realize we being played?
Because we're more interested in being equal to them and having fun.
Right. Right.
We're more as long as I can go out and have a good time and enjoy myself and get my drink and
just look at Back to the Bricks. That should tell you everything
right,
you need to
right,
know.
right.
Back to the Bricks should tell you. I was looking at different people they had they you know they was doing their lives and they was like it's a culture difference. No, it's not a culture difference.
No,
they taking this from you.
right.
You just ain't woke up and seen it yet.
No, because as long as you can make a live, that means nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
they taking it from. They telling you they want you out.
Right.
And
yeah.
we just don't see it. When you see it's headed out the Grand Blanc. I remember when the Back to the Bricks, you came up to Hamilton Street.
Yep.
When you was down. That's why it's called Back to the Bricks.
Right.
But you celebrating it out that way. Then when you see the curfew, who you think the curfew for?
Of course. Of course.
You know, but ain't nobody paying attention
but
to
here's
that.
Even at that, okay, so why should there have to be, I know we're not off topic. This is all running along the lines of the mindset as well. But if you tell your children and you raise your children properly, then you don't have a curfew.
Right.
You don't have a curfew.
Right.
So it should be okay for my 16 or 17-year-old son to be out there with their friends because they know if something happens, you better go to the police before I get to you.
Right.
But we want our kids to have more than what we had, so therefore we're not putting any restrictions on them. And then when something happens, we want to be upset. But that's going back to the mental slavery again.
Right, facts.
That's going back to the mental slavery again, where you're not demanding that you act a certain way, and you can go wherever you want to act that way, and nothing's going to happen. But it's showing us all the time that something's going to happen.
Right. Right. I can't disagree with you.
Yeah. So, but when we wanted to be living in the same neighborhoods and go to the same schools and all the other stuff that we talked about, and we want to, break them and make them show them that we're equal. We're not equal. No. This is not our space. This is if we had our own space,
right?
But we don't have certain things that are necessary in order to sustain our community. We don't have banks. We don't have a hospital. We don't manufacture anything. We're consumers of everything.
Sure it is.
We're consumers of everything, but we're not manufacturers of anything.
Sure.
And then, we don't have anything to protect it.
Right. Right.
And they showed even in Tulsa that when you have people to protect it, we'll just do something different. Yeah. We'll bomb you.
Why they thinking like the first time bombs was dropped on America was, it was Tulsa, Oklahoma. When they say the first terrorist attack, that was Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa and then Rosewood after that, and then Philadelphia in 1985 we moved. Yeah.
Right. But they'd try to say 9/11.
9/11 or Pearl Harbor 41. Yeah, but it wasn't no mainland. It was out there, right?
The thing was, it wasn't them. It was us.
Right.
That it happened to. So
yeah. So it don't matter.
That should tell you everything you need
to know.
Well,
that's the reason why they're trying to whitewash history.
Right.
So you don't make other kids feel bad.
Right.
But yet you did this and you benefited from it and you still do, but we're not supposed to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah. We can't do that. That's not happening. So anyway, we talked about Prophet Nat. Yep. Little bit about the Haitian Revolution. Toussaint Louverture, Duty Bookman, and Dessalines. There's a brother I know named Rod Dessalines. Shout out to you if you're out there, if you peep this, bro. We miss you. I know you're out there doing your thing with you and your family. Those three men, and there was a couple of women, and I'm not trying to be sexist, but because I know y'all start tripping about that. Those three men were the ones that were the key spearheads for the Haitian Revolution. Right. So there's another revolution, even though it wasn't on American soil, it was close enough for there to be some things that take place. Cool. England stopped importing African people. United States stopped importing African people after that because now word got out that they can be beat.
Right.
So the laws got tighter, borders got tighter. We weren't importing people from the Caribbean. So from 1808 to 1863, we're going to create our own population like what we talked about. But there are several of Denmark Vesey. He was caught being a conspirator to overthrow the institution of slavery because somebody in his group sold him out. Okay. Gabriel Prosser, 1821, same thing, conspirer. We got a group of people. We found out all of the people that was in the group and executed them. Both of them. The Stonewall Rebellion in 1739. There's a group of people that had left from Charlotte and was walking to Florida, which shouldn't be that far. I don't think it's that far away. I don't know. It could be. Y'all look it up on a map. Tell me. And as they moved along the way, they picked up a few more people. Now, anything, or if anyone knows anything about Spain, Spain owned at one time Florida. St. Augustine was a slave port, 1536. It's right on the coast, right? They were going, the Spanish told, because they were fighting with the Americans, with the colonists, Spanish told African people that were enslaved, if you come down here and join us, we'll give you land and your freedom. So the enslaved people, not knowing what's going on with the conflict, heard about it. We just gonna go down here, and on their way down, they just bumped off a few people.
Wow.
They bumped off a few people. The only person, I think there was one person that ran away who was a general, and another person that they let go because he treated his enslaved African people right, and those people protected him. The people that he had enslaved protected him from those persons who were fighting for their freedom. I'm just, make that make sense. They protected him and his family. I guess because he was treating them so nice.
Right.
Yes. Meanwhile, it was like, you ain't gonna kill him, go on about your way. You take what you need and go. So the Stonewall Rebellion happened in 1739. I think I said that right. Yeah, 1739. And when they get caught, of course, they get executed. So the penalty is always going to be harsh for you to fight for something that you said that other people got, but I don't have.
Right.
They got you free, but I can't be free. Right. So then when I want to take my freedom, the penalty is death. Yeah. Not give me liberty, give me death, like one of those presidents or whoever it was said it. No, you don't get none of that. You just get dead.
Yeah. That's the penalty of trying to be free.
That's the penalty for trying to be free.
That should tell you you're not free.
Because they doing it now.
Yeah,
still
not free.
Well, but we don't want to talk about that too much because we don't want to be free. We want to do what we want to do. We want to have fun and just party all the time. Maroon societies were formed, Jamaica, Florida, some in Louisiana, where groups of people said, hey, we're just going to build our own community. If they come up in here or try and get us, they had a surprise. And those Maroon, there's in Jamaica, I've heard the Maroon Society that was started in the 1700s is still functional today in the mountains, where they pretty much self-sufficient. They don't talk about it much. They're pretty much self-sufficient, and nobody comes up there and bother them because they still may have some sort of booby traps laying around waiting for folks if you decide that you want to come in. Hey, man, they wasn't playing. In Long Island in 1708, there was a revolt. New York City in 1712, another revolt. It's conspiracy that happened in 1740 and 1741, but those persons, of course, got caught and they were, subsequently executed. Outside of the borders of the United States, in Guadalupe, Grenada, Jamaica, Suriname, Richmond, Virginia, again in 1800, and in Louisiana in 1811. There's a book by Herbert Aptheker that's called Negro Slave Revolts. So, yeah, he ain't on video, and I said it just like that. He ain't on no video. Get the book. It's called Negro Slave Revolts. It'll be in our book list. The PBS series, Slavery in America, really good series. They also came up. They have a book. Get that one too. They created a law after the Stonewall Rebellion in 1739 called the Negro Act, where African people in America were stopped from gathering. They couldn't have church service. They couldn't loiter, what they call it now. So understand that loitering acts don't come from white folks standing around. They come from black people standing around because they don't know what black people may be conspiring or thinking of doing. Okay. There was they call it the witchcraft, or I'm sorry, the witch hunt in New York in 1741, where a young white indentured servant, young white woman, female indentured servant, accused people of conspiring to overthrow the government in New York. And so she just pointed out a bunch of people, and they offered her 100 shillings or 100 gold pieces and her freedom. And she pointed out a whole bunch of people got people killed just because she said so. Until it came across a prominent businessman, and when she tried to accuse him of being a conspirator, they said no, that's not the case. They gave her money and sent her free. Meanwhile, over 80 people got killed, most of them black.
Wow.
Yeah. There have been more than 250 documented rebellions in the United States, just in this country alone. So we've always been in resistance. We've only stopped resisting when we thought we'd become more than what we thought that we'd become. And there's another resistance called the St. John Resistance in 1733. Same thing happened. People gathered to overthrow the system, and they were found out. And those people turned around when they found out, and they ended up, taking their lives. So people fought against this system all the time, and they didn't use politics. Okay, it wasn't until certain levels and certain ideas of leadership came that made other people feel comfortable that leadership became important, or a personal leader became important, and not a group of people taking matters in their own hands. These are people that took matters in their own hands. Same thing we need to do about our own education. We need to build businesses, and we need to build trust in each other again. Because if we don't, it's not a good look. It's really not a good look.
No, I agree with you. But how do we get there? Because it's to me, it's like we got so many.
Most of it is us.
Right.
We have barriers, right?
Right.
But it is what love, whether you call it God, I don't care how you label it. What love do I have for you as my brother that I would not cause harm to you or harm to your family? I'd rather not mess with you than cause any harm to you, because I love you enough to not mess with you. And even if we have disagreements, that still doesn't stop me from loving you.
Right.
He's my brother. Period. That's it.
You should, but it's like it goes back to that Willie Lynch letter.
Absolutely.
Some people don't believe says a fiction.
It doesn't matter. The system exists.
Right.
We can see it clearly now, right? We can see it very clearly now how the system exists because of the tension between black men and black women in this country, all because you following a doctrine that you didn't even know was set in place.
Right.
Oh, we were talking about feminism. No, that was set in place way before that.
Right. It's like, just looking at all as far as minorities. Gays can be called minority. White women can be called minorities. But who was the minority? We were the minority.
Only in this country. So that's the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is in this country.
When they play, yeah.
But if we talk about worldwide,
no. Yeah, but see
but we don't get that.
Right. And that's the game that they play when I'm looking at it, like when you hear anything, even like you said, affirmative action. My big thing, I feel like this: if y'all don't want us if y'all don't want us to be able to go to y'all school, I feel all the blacks should come out of the D1 colleges.
Well, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Let me explain again. Go back to William Rhoden's book, $40 Million Slave.
Right.
Is you poor? This is the recruiter. You're poor. I come into your surroundings and I see that you don't have much. I can offer you more. Don Haskins was one of the only coaches in Texas. I can't remember which school it was, who said, "Hey man, they play ball. I need them on my team. We'll take care of the rest of that later on." So I want to say Texas Christian, something. I don't remember, but some of y'all got it. So tell me. But he was one of the few coaches that said, and when they beat Kentucky, now you got Rupp and all of these other older coaches now saying we got to have these players.
They forget Alabama.
Yeah.
Bear Bryant, what happened? He went out there and played them with that USC, them West Coast boys, and found out them brothers was 6'2",
right,
running back. Because he Rump Arena. People keep forgetting Rump Arena. I feel like should not a black kid even be playing in Rump Arena.
But if you give me the opportunity to showcase my talent so that I can go somewhere else and make money for my family because we're poor.
And they notice, they pray.
Absolutely.
They prey on the poor and disadvantaged. They know you come in. I remember Duke. I remember William. I remember when they brought that freshman recruiting class in when they had Elton Brand and all that.
I remember that.
The point guard, his mother got a job at the post office. They was moving people. He was from Atlanta. Right. They moved his whole family up to Durham, North Carolina to help them out. This is what they did for them. Didn't nobody see nothing but Coach K, considered one of the greatest college coaches of all time. They've been doing this, paying these kids. Right. Now they can just do it in the open now, called NIL. Right. They've been making billions of dollars. Just look at the Final Four.
Man.
From the
what they call March Madness?
Yeah.
That 30 days, the NCAA, which is a nonprofit organization, makes over $6 billion for that 30 days.
Right. And you mean to tell me, let's go back to Dexter Mann. Let me just show you about the college.
I remember. Go ahead.
He couldn't even read, but how did he make it through?
Third grade reading.
How did he make it all the way up to college to the NFL?
He could play ball.
So they've been pushing these people out. That's why I understand that book, The $40 Million Slave.
You got to make sure you get it.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you another book, Without Sanctuary. Go get that. See, people slip on that.
No, yeah, because it's horrible and I don't want to feel bad.
Yeah.
So, and that goes on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Because your white folks don't want to acknowledge that happened. And you don't want to make your children feel bad, which is the reason why we're talking about erasing classes that you want to have in school. That part. And black people don't want to see that because it'll make me feel bad. Right. And I don't remember that because I'm out here going to outings with people that I want to go with instead of saying, that's cool, do that. But don't forget who you are when you come.
But we supposed to get over our history, but you're not going to tell.
You ain't going to tell nobody else to get over.
Jewish people get over their history. Nope. You're not going to tell.
Nope.
You're not going to tell.
I formerly owned you. So therefore.
Yeah, how you going to tell us about what we can't? Oh, because I remember watching Fox News and different. I was looking at some so-called political thought leaders going on there where that happened back in the day. You miss your point. What?
Right.
What you mean we missed our point? But some of these people, I heard Democrats say it, I heard Republicans say it.
What did the Native Americans say about the bird? Left wing,
right
wing, same bird.
Right. But we forget this and we get caught. Because did you ever check out, finish watching that Riz Islam interview?
Yes.
But our people not really understood what's going on in this system.
Listen, when people blindly follow situations,
facts,
then I'm ignoring those other things because that's irrelevant. What's relevant now is this thing that's in front of me right now.
Right. And every 4 years they come with a new book.
It's a new face, not a new game.
Right. Yeah, new face, same game.
But so therefore, if you are mentally locked into, well, I'm just gonna blindly follow this person. I don't care who it is.
Right.
Don't matter. What that's not going. You're not going to get any benefit from it.
Fact.
But see, understanding what happened to our people, knowing that still runs in us spiritually and genetically.
Right.
If you're reading Without Sanctuary, if you're reading Bullwhip Days, if you're reading Who Betrayed the African World Revolution by Dr. John Henrik Clarke, if you're reading all of these other books that are out there, stop looking at these tapes on your phone. Who cares? They may have some stuff, cool, but that not be your main focus.
Right.
Because your children cannot touch, they're not going to care. Whereas you got a book and you're reading it, maybe one of your babies is going to go by what you're reading, and you can talk to them about it.
Facts.
You know, but it's about being informed. Or we just want to know. We don't want to be informed, and that's different.
Right.
Right. That's different.
I agree.
You know, we can't do. We've given ourselves away to do what we could have done.
Right.
No. Dr. UAP Newton was murdered in 1987.
Right.
And to this day, they ain't found out who did it.
Right.
It don't matter. He gone. Right. But it didn't matter to the police about finding out who his killer was either.
Right.
Because it didn't matter.
Because they didn't want what they did back in the 70s. They want to curtail, this government will curtail anything if they thinking it's finna be, if we building something.
Yeah.
Why you think
no loitering? That came from that law, they call the Negro Act.
Right.
Where you can't stand around.
Yeah.
That's what they call loitering now.
Yeah.
Same thing, but that happened in 1732.
Right.
1732.
Right.
You telling us, oh, y'all can't gather, you can't grow food no more, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. But now they tell you can't loiter.
Stop and frisk. Who do you think the stop and frisk was for?
That's President, what's the name? Yeah, he instituted that.
Yeah, but that's stop and frisk. But what they failed to get, okay, New York was bad, it was drugs. Who brought the drugs in?
Man, you can't talk about that.
You know, but they never want to say who brought.
You can't even talk about how Wall Street was built.
Oh, yeah.
All of New York was built off slavery.
Right. But
that's how it became the financial capital of the world, and still is.
But they're not gonna mention that because you mentioned that. Now you stepping.
Well, I mean, I just got that information from a book called Complicity.
Yeah.
I didn't write that book.
Right.
White folks wrote that book.
Right.
They went back into their own history,
right,
looking at what happened in Massachusetts, New York, and New England, I believe. I gotta remember correctly. But they're the ones who put this stuff out there. I didn't. I'm just repeating what they said.
Nah, you know, that's when Satan calling out the devil. Sometimes that happens.
That's okay.
Sometimes they tell on their own when they don't get things.
Yeah. But they were trying to be honest about the history of that area and how that history got to be what it got to be.
Though.
Me too.
I can respect that when you not being a revisionist of history.
No, they were telling the truth about how New York got to be what it got to be. All of the colonies along the rivers got to be what they got to be because they were taking the cotton from the South,
right,
turning it into material,
right,
selling it back to the South, taking the rum from the South,
right,
turning it into alcohol, selling it to not only to the South but to England and selling the fabric to England. So that's how they became a financial capital of the world off of slavery.
And go watch and listen. I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna give because I remember the minister did a thing on it when he brought it up and showed you who controlled all of that too, how the slave routes was. I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna get the clip of it and showing you who the people was running it because at all these spots, and you're gonna get to see in Congress who was fighting back then wanted to keep slavery going.
Yeah, they never wanted to. Right. Even when we talk about Lincoln,
right?
Lincoln always said, regardless, because one of my other teachers said that he had black parentage. I don't see how.
He was rough on us.
Right. If that's the case, he said, I have no issue with the white being a superior race and the black being an inferior race. He wasn't talking about freeing y'all on so we could be equal.
He didn't want no light to come in. Very little. He said, let no light come in.
Yeah.
People forget him and Frederick Douglass. Them wasn't friends that was talking.
No, there was a debate. There was always debating about the enslaved people's position.
He tell you he only did let the blacks come in because he was trying to preserve the Union.
The Union, yeah.
It ain't nothing bigger than the Union.
Yeah, the whole Union, not just the North half, the whole thing.
It was just preserve. If he didn't have to do that.
Right. Oh, no, he wouldn't have got killed either.
Yeah, he thought you would hold no position.
Yeah.
Hold no high position.
Yeah,
he wasn't saying that ain't a friend to tell you this.
Right.
But the way they put it out there too is they revision it and pack it up. Then you'll hear Obama when he did the route that Abraham Lincoln did because he was from Chicago. Right. All that be symbolic when you're looking at these things being played. So he was the emancipator. You know what I'm saying?
That's what they call him, the great emancipator. Well, he didn't. Listen, man, black people freed themselves. Okay, in Fort Sumter, the Massachusetts, 54th of Massachusetts, Glory, 55th of Massachusetts, they went in there, they sacrificed their life, but they killed a bunch of people for their own freedom. But what also people don't understand or know is that the black people that was on the other side that was still being held by the Confederates is the ones that opened the gate so they could get through.
They don't see that.
No, but they was the ones that opened the gate so the colored troops could get through. Other than that, they wasn't gonna make it.
Rough. We got a minute, brother.
Yeah, well, man, it's always go by fast when we get an opportunity to kick it. Family, I will make sure that you have a book list. But what I need you all to do is when we see each other again the next time, I need you to take pictures of your bookshelves or at least a couple of your books and show them to me so I know you actively pursuing the knowledge we're trying to give. Okay? Listen, bullwhip days. Don't be ashamed of what happened to our people. Honor them by being our best and our greatest. That's what we can do. We got to honor them. We have to honor them. We owe our little bit of what we consider to be freedom to what sacrifices that they made to allow us to be here. Okay. All right, family. This is Elliott McCants sitting in for Sister Audrey Muhammad, my big brother Mick. We'll talk to you later. Have a